This is a tablet that looks normal, and I'm using it to play Minecraft Bedrock. But when I connect a mouse and keyboard, look, I can already play the Java version with shaders, and when I connect a controller, wow, you can even play Uncharted 4. If the screen is small, you can even connect an external monitor. So, could this be the Switch Pro Max? As a tech content creator who often falls into traps, Ruisi, didn't really have much faith in the OneXPlayer as a portable console when I first saw it 2 years ago. Although it runs major games, its large size makes it impossible to carry around without a bag. Then they released the OneXPlayer Mini, and I thought they were going to abandon the original line. But to my surprise, I never imagined the OneXPlayer 2 would return like this. After using it for a while, today I'll show you what it's really like. I won't go into too much detail in this video. Let's see if we can get over 3,000 coins. If we do, I'll introduce more awesome gaming products. La la la. As we all know, the biggest change in the Splur 2 is the adoption of a modular design similar to the Switch, but it deliberately retains some of the first-generation Splur style, so you know you're using in Splur when you're using it. For example, this massive device, compared to the Steam Deck, is even longer and weighs over 800 g, so it can be used for exercise or even as a weapon while gaming. It still comes with the rear kickstand for propping it up while playing with its detachable controllers and the new keyboard. It's worth noting that it's now more practical. The controllers have a more pronounced curve at the back, making them even more comfortable to hold. You simply press the button on the back and lift upwards to remove them. The turbo button, previously located on the right side of the first generation to adjust performance, is now on the top of the device. The turbo button activates the controller's orange light, which is not RGB. On top, there's a 3.5mm headphone jack, USB 4.0 Type-C ports, a USB 3.2 Type-A port, and a microSD card slot. Below that is another USB 3.2 Type-C port and pins for connecting the official keyboard. Regarding the keyboard, its design is compact, it has full-size keys and a touchpad acceptable for occasional use. But it's unacceptable that the ESC key requires pressing FN. On the front is the 8.4-inch IPS screen with 2K resolution and a 16:10 aspect ratio. Some might say that since most Windows consoles usually run games at 800p, this 2K resolution is quite unnecessary. But after using it for a while, I realized that it's not really very useful. Except for watching videos or playing teamfight tactics, I've barely used it. It does have 2K resolution. I love that it supports 10-point touch. So by removing the controllers, I can play titles like Minecraft JT with touch controls from 1 to CCO. What score would you give the exterior design of this console? Let me know in the comments. If we only use it to play Minecraft JE, we'd be wasting its potential. So next, we'll try more games. This OneXPlayer 2 has 16 GB of LPDDR5 RAM, a Devi SSD, and the familiar 6800U processor. It's worth mentioning that OneXPlayer recently released its menu software. By pressing the turbo button on top, you can open this menu with a single touch while playing. In this menu, in addition to adjusting the power consumption limit, you can regulate the fan, vibration, and activate RTSS with a click. In this test, I kept the power consumption of each game at 15W, and the resolution was 1280 by 800. With FSR enabled, Hogwarts Legacy ran at 30 to 40 frames per second on low-medium settings. Spider-Man, Miles Morales reached 40 to 50 frames per second on high settings, while Uncharted 4 ran stably at 30 frames per second on medium settings. By connecting a keyboard, we tested games that are not compatible with FSR. First, Minecraft Java 1.19 with Fabric and Simple Shaders manages to reach 90 to 100 frames per second. Teamfight Tactics at ultra settings and 2K resolution runs at around 70 or 80 frames per second, while CS Go at 1080p and high quality maintains between 70 and 100 frames per second, although somewhat unstable. For these competitive games, I recommend increasing the power limit and using an external monitor. Seeing this game running quite decently, some might say, so, Ruisi, you're not enjoying it that much. In fact, for me, this handheld console has a major drawback. As I mentioned, the OneXPlayer 2 uses a modular design similar to the Switch. Its main advantage is that with its detachable controllers, you can share games with friends at any time. The OneXPlayer 2 can do this too, but you need to connect 2 additional controllers. Some might think, if the original OneXPlayer 2 controllers had this feature, wouldn't it be a copy of the Switch? The most important thing to note is that the OneXPlayer 2 controllers cannot be used independently in any way once they have been removed from the console. That's right, its controllers connect via they have touch controls, but they don't have a battery inside. To connect them wirelessly to the main console, you have to attach them to an additional cradle that does have a battery. Of course, considering there might be patent issues with the Switch, it's understandable that they don't connect directly wirelessly. Also, if the controllers had batteries, they wouldn't only weigh 800-something grams. The main thing is that this controller cradle, they say, didn't convince them in its initial version, and they're redesigning it. It won't be officially released until March. So, for me, the Xbox One experience with the OneXPlayer 2 isn't entirely complete, although overall it's still quite good. When I receive the controller cradle, I'll bring you a follow-up video. That's all for this video. If you like this video, don't forget to follow me and give it a like. If you have anything to say or anything you'd like to see, you can tell me in the comments below. See you in the next video.